In this video, I am going to share with you how I track all of the job applications, job specs, roles, companies I applied for with salaries and status of my job application onto the job tracker. Okay, so here we are in a job application tracker. This is a Google spreadsheet, very easy to make. I like to track the roles that I apply for. So roles, I mean job title, company, when I applied for this job, the job description, because I like to save it. The reason why I save this is because sometimes, you apply for a job and then in 2 weeks that job is not available anymore. So you have actually no way to reference all the things in your interview that the job description said. So I like to save all of my job descriptions. I have years of experience here, like what this job description says. If I submitted a cover letter or not, resume version. I have 3 versions now. You might just have one, but I have more than one resume versions. And if the salary is available in the job description, I like to track the status of my job application. And if there is a job board link, sometimes you need to submit your application through Workday. And that's a hot tip, that don't use the same login for every job. Create a separate login for, let's say, PwC uses Workday. So you create a separate login credential for PwC, and if you want to apply for another job and they are using Workday as well, then you create another login for this other company. It will save you lots of pain in the long run. Okay, so you add the link if there's a job board, and you can also keep track the status of the job application if they have a job board. So that's the beauty of it. Because we're talking about design, so most of the design interview process, they have multiple steps, usually 4, 5, or 6, depending on the seniority level. So that's what I'm tracking here. The first interview is usually a screening call with a recruiter. So that's what I like to track here. That's who I met and when I met the person. And then interview 2, when and who I'm meeting with, and the same for interview 3, 4, and 5 or 6 if that happens for you. And if I need to do a portfolio presentation, and I like to ask this upfront, if this job requires a take-home exercise. Personally, I don't do take-home exercises, but that's just my decision. I actually stopped doing it about 3 years ago. I'm not going to do another take-home exercise. But, if you are applying for an intermediate, junior, or even a senior product designer position, you might not be able to skip this part, especially in the current job market. Okay, and finally, if the offer comes through, then yay! And I like to also note that if there is any other compensation that is part of a package, think about stock, RSU, any bonuses or insurance or whatever they might have. I like to ask, especially since I've been living here in Canada, I like to ask how many holidays the company provides. So I like to have more than 2 weeks. That is basically the standard here in Canada. If you are rejected and if you know the reason, then I like to note that here, just for my reference. So that is the job tracker. Now, how I search for jobs is basically this. I usually use Indeed and LinkedIn, and I just come here, type up design director and where I'm looking for a job, and find jobs. Sometimes you get this absolutely not relevant job advertisement, but that's okay. You gotta go through this one by one. So what I like to do, I want to make sure that I sort by relevance and date here. So I don't want to apply for jobs that's been advertised for more than 4 or 6 weeks. That's just way too long. I find that the sooner I apply, the better my chances, because if you find a job advertisement that's been up for 2 or 3 weeks, it's very likely that there are already candidates that are at the second or the third step. So you might be a little bit too late. So let's see. Okay, which one is interesting? Okay, so maybe this is something that is interesting to me. Design director at Accenture. I used to work at PwC, so I probably would be a really good candidate because I already know how the Big Four works. Okay, and what I like to do, I just scan through the full job description, what they are, and you are the work, what is required, and what's needed. Okay, 10 years of experience, 5 years leadership. Yeah, have that. Okay, have that. Have that. Consulting experience. Yes, I have that. Experience developing sales materials. Approaches are being delivered. Yes. Security, reliability, clearance. I'm fine with that. Bonus points, bachelor. I have masters. Business travel. I'm fine with that. I know all this. I've done this one. Yeah. So this is a pretty good. I would be a really good candidate for this one. So what I do is here, apply now. So I never apply through Indeed. So I go to Accenture site and I save the job description. This is very simple. Command P if you're on a Mac, and then open PDF in preview, and this is just open up on my other screen. Okay, I bring this in, and what I do here is I go to File and Export. So Design Director, Accenture, and then I save it as a PDF. Click Save. And then you can close this one now. Then you go through the application process. Very likely they do have a job board that you can reference. Let's see what they use. Okay, see, they use Workdays. So what I do, I actually create an account. So my email address, and it just recommends a good password, and then it leads you to the application process. And I know like Workday is a little bit of a mess, and it takes at least about 15-20 minutes to fill out the application. Don't use Figma created resumes. So just use Word doc, use Google Word doc and generate a PDF, because these applicant tracking systems cannot read your PDF properly. And if they cannot read it, then they cannot match keywords and you won't be invited to any interviews. I actually made a very extensive video about that, so check that one out. The other job board that I always check out, it's LinkedIn Jobs. Again, the same thing, Design Director, Canada, and you have actually more options to customize this part. If I am interested in this director of design, then I'm just going to click on apply and see where it leads. Do the same thing, Command P, save it and drop it in a folder. And then on LinkedIn, what I like to do is I like to mark if I applied for this role or not, so that LinkedIn doesn't show me the same jobs again and again and again. So that's it. That's all my application process. I spend at least like 15-20 minutes with one job application. And sometimes companies, like during this application process, sometimes they ask for a few questions as part of the screening, and sometimes they ask for cover letters. But I believe like these things are just blockers in the application process, because I cannot imagine people who are actually full-time looking for another position. They don't just apply for one position, they apply for 10 or 15 a day maybe. Imagine if all of these companies are asking for cover letter that is very specific to the role and to the company. So who's writing all of these cover letters and who answers all of these screening questions in the application process? Like really spending hours on one application. When a candidate knows that all of these applications are actually viewed by a robot, go through an ATS, an applicant tracking system, nobody spends hours on writing these cover letters and answering the screening questions. If you asked me 5 years ago, I would have said, yeah, cover letters are super important. But with the rise of AI, not anymore. And I just really don't think companies actually get value out of these questions. But hey, what do I know? Okay, so let's move on. Now, what I like to do on my Google Drive, but you can track all of these things offline as well, like have a folder on your computer. I like to track these online. So I have a separate folder on my Google Drive, says job applications, and I have all of the JDs, the job descriptions saved here, the PDF that we just created earlier, all of the different versions of my resume, and I have this job application tracker spreadsheet. So now what I would like to show you is what I do with the job specs. So I have this design director Accenture thing, and I like to drop it in the JD job description section. And then see, here it is, Design Director Accenture. I just dropped it in. And what we do here is I'm going to right click and then share and copy link. And we're gonna go back to the spreadsheet. So this is what I do. Role, what was it? Design director, right? Design director. Company, Accenture. Application date, so this is today, so I'm just going to put the date in. And with the job description, we have the link saved. This is a Google Drive link. I really like this little chip, like design director Accenture, so I like to click that. It looks really good, and you can have a quick view here as well. And for the rest, I always reference the job description. So they said 10, right? So that's 9 to 11. You can actually easily modify this section. If you're a junior, intermediate designer, then you probably want to have like 1-2 years of experience, 3-4, Now, because I am applying for leadership positions, so this is what I have. Rarely they have 5 years, but I think I found one. Like smaller companies, sometimes they don't require that long of an experience. Okay, so that cover letter, let's say they did not ask for a cover letter because they are smart. And then resume version, I sent my version 2 leadership one. And let's say, I know the job application did not say anything about that, but salary for a design director, if you look this up on Glassdoor, this is about probably 250K. Maybe. And then status of the job application. So what do? I just applied. So I am in waiting mode. But you have other options here. And I linked the job board, and now we wait. Let's say a couple of days later, Accenture messages me that, hey, Nikki, we would love to interview you for this role. Then we schedule an interview, and what I say here is, okay, the status have changed and I interviewed already. I click interviewed, and then that was a recruiter. And then I usually add a few notes, what we discussed. Like I add the comment here that recruiter actually said that salary is $235. So I add it here, it shows up as a comment. And then they said, yes, I will have a portfolio presentation, but they do not require a take-home exercise. And other compensation, they say bonus, 20%, RRSP matching, 3%, etc. I actually don't know if this is what they offer, so I just made this up. It will be like a second nature to do this thing for each application. So this is my very simple job application tracking system. I hope you enjoyed it and have fun using it. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I was just recently laid off from my well-paying UX tech job. So sad, but that's life. If you want to follow my job search, here's a playlist. Bye.